Hello everyone, welcome back to Chance. In this series, we are learning programming step by step. Today's topic is identifiers. Okay, one of the most basic but important concepts. Okay, so what is an identifier? Question mark. What is an identifier? So you can simply tell that an identifier is a name we given to element in a program. So it's a name which is given to an element in a program. Okay, like you can say that like variables, functions, classes, objects, functions, classes, objects. Okay, it helps us identify and refer to them in a code. Okay, it helps us for identification purpose. For example, you're having in a class of 50 students. Each of the student can be identified with their own name. So name is an identifier in a class. Okay. So without name, you cannot identify someone, right? So in the same way, without an identifier, you cannot identify an element in a program. Okay. For example, you're having int int age is equals to 20. Okay. Age is an identifier here. Age is an identifier. Okay. So it's a name we are giving to store the value of 20. So age is a name in the program we are giving to store the value of 20. Okay. So this is a identifier and we are having some rules to define an identifier. So we need to follow some certain rules in order to define an identifier in a program. So first rule is identifiers can contain letters, digits, underscore, or dollar sign. Only these characters are allowed. No other characters cannot be allowed. So if you are using some other characters apart from this, you'll get a compatibility error. Okay. So those letters can be A to Z or capital A to Z, or you can use 0 to 9, or you can use some underscore, you can use dollar symbol. So only these characters can be used. Okay, this is the first rule. And the second rule is they cannot start with a digit. Okay, they start cannot start with a digit. Okay, if you're writing the identifier as 1, 2, 3, and you're giving a value as an identifier and you're storing some 100 inside it. So this can be invalid. Okay, it is invalid. You have to write value or you can include 1, 2 there next. So then this is valid. And if you're using a digit at the start of the identifier, it's completely invalid. So it cannot be accepted as an identifier. Okay. And the third rule is No special characters like at the rate, hashtag, percentages are allowed. So this is related to this first rule only. Okay, some other characters cannot be allowed. So keywords cannot be reserved reserved words. Okay, reserved words can also be called as keywords. Okay, keywords cannot be used as an identifier. Okay, so for example, you're having a class names as int, or you're having a class name as class. So this cannot be used as an identifiers. Okay, this cannot be used as an identifiers. So it's completely avoided. Okay. For example, if you're using int and if you are using as an identifier, so it cannot be used. So it is invalid format. Okay. This is the rule number 3. And if you are writing int value is equal to 10 and int value is equals to 10 and int value is equals to 10. So here you can observe these three are the identifiers written here. So all these three identifiers can be differentiated using case, the case values. So by using the case value, as the Java programming is a case sensitive language, all these three identifiers are valid. So all these three identifiers can be used as an identifiers in a program because the JVM internally validating these three identifiers, like it is differentiating these three identifiers using case. Okay, the case value you can observe. You're having in our first identifier, you're having V as small. Later on, the second identifier, you're starting with a capitals V. Then later on, you're having a third identifier is completely capitals. Okay, the three identifiers are valid. So this is the rule number. As it's you can tell as Java identifiers are case sensitive. Okay. The next rule number 5 is the length of the Java identifiers can be of anything. You can you can write a 32-bit length of the identifier and you can write 64, you can write 128, you can also write some 1 crore identifier also, but it is valid and you'll get the output definitely, but it's not recommended because it's not a good programming practice, as you'll get some compatibility errors and readability issues and you'll get some uh, confusions. It creates some confusions internally. Okay, so that's why it is not recommended to write, but it's valid. And the rule number 6 is all the predefined classes and predefined interfaces can be used as an identifiers. Okay, okay. All the predefined classes and predefined interfaces can be used as an identifier. For example, the predefined classes that you're having the int is a class, and you're having a float is also a class. I'll tell you what are this in further upcoming videos. And you can use a string as a identifiers. All these are predefined classes. And predefined interfaces are you're having a runnable interface. Okay, this runnable interface can also be used as an identifier. But these type of rules, these type of formats cannot be recommended because you'll have some compatibility issues and you'll have some readability issues and some confusions can be created, which rises to an anomalies. Okay, always choose meaningful names for identifiers. For example, use a student name instead of just you are using instead of using s and underscore name n, you choose some meaningful names for an identifiers. Okay, it makes your code easier to understand, so the readability of the code will increases. Okay, so that's all about identifiers, the names we use to identify variables, functions, and more in our programs. Okay, in a program, if you're having a class name, and you're having some public static void main, and you're given some, see, I forgot to tell you one thing. See, I'll write you a simple Java program. So you observe clearly. For example, you're having class identifiers. So it's a class name, okay? Identifier is a class name. Okay, then you're having public static void main of string of args. Okay, then you're having int x is equals to 10. So tell me how many identifiers are there in this Java program? So you just tell only x, right? Okay, but here this identifiers, it's a class name, right? The class name can also be an identifier. So this main is a method name here. So it's also called as an identifier. And also you can tell this string of args can also be identifier. String can be identifier, args can be identifier, and also x can also be identifier. Okay, this is the thing. Okay, so that's all. The names which we use to identify variables, functions, and more in our programs is called as identifiers. Okay. The next part will move on to reserved words. Then later on I'll tell you about data types, literals, arrays. Okay. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Chancer. See you in the next video.